Hey folks, Steve here. How you doing? Hey, I've got a long video for you today, so I hope you're, go get a beverage, come on back, make some popcorn, get all settled in. So this video is, again, it's a kind of a work compilation video. It is the down bathroom, also featured in a couple of other videos. I think there's a short playlist on all of this. Probably a link will be in the description below for the playlist, and maybe one of the cards at the very end of the video. We'll get you there as well as if you want to see the entire playlist. So we have this addition right above me, which this space is actually part of it, which was installed way back in 2013. And attached to that were some rooms to the house proper. One of them being the down bathroom. We took that as an opportunity to redo the bathroom. And so this video is just further progress in redoing that bathroom. I think this gets us up to 80% because it has the floor tile from last video wall tile, this video floor tile. Also the baseboard, and then the chair, or the the crown molding. So that'll get you up to date there. The next video should be the last video to kind of wrap it all up and give you a final tour of everything else that I have going. So I hope you've got your popcorn, I hope you have your beverage, and I hope you're strapped in and ready to go. But if you would, just before we get started with this thing, if you would, like and subscribe, please. I really do appreciate all your efforts on that. It's really helping my channel out, so thank you very much. Okay, so I will watch as you watch, and I will kind of do maybe a voiceover or throw myself up in a picture-in-picture, and if there's anything specific that I should comment on. All right, here we go. Hey folks, Steve here. How you doing? I have a wonderful opportunity to be cutting some unusual tile. Let me show you what I've got. So it's this floral tile, and there are of course 4 different ways to orient it, but once you orient it in this direction, everything locks in a particular way. You can't like take this one then grab the next one and just flip it 180 degrees with this in-out pattern and things lining up. It's actually not like that at all. It looks like it's bisymmetrical, but it's actually not. So there's kind of one way for it to go and for everything to lock in. And I'm having to cut this tile. Of course the tile is on a matte back, so that's fortunate. And the various cuts that I am making are interesting. Like for instance, over here, I had to basically cut the back off for my finished tile, and so I have that. But look at that beautiful cut right there. That's just using this cobalt saw. Likewise, there and there, that little tiny piece right there. These little thin slivers. And then I had to do this one for the kind of the finished corner cut. And I'm going big to small. By going big to small, I have a lot of little tiny like finish half flower cuts that have to be independently set in, and so once I know what I have, then I can do the little cuts out of any of my fall off without having to actually interrupt a full tile. When you're doing full size tile, then you run into the problem of, for finish cuts and everything else, you may get 1 cut, maybe 2 out of a tile, but the balance in the middle you have to throw away. With this, as long as I have an intact flower, I can use it somehow, whether it's the petals or half of the petals or something like that. So it's actually pretty cool. Marble, very soft. Very soft means cutting on this tile saw is actually very nice and very little resistant. Cutting that glass from yesterday, there was a lot of resistance, and I'm using a glass blade. I left the glass blade in not thinking, cut my first marble tile, and this glass cutting blade is just like, it's not like butter, but it's very smooth. So I'm leaving it in. I do have a tile, like a porcelain blade, but I like this. So, and maybe it is that for glass. So let me show you the setup that I have, because I think we ordered 10% extra just for, fall off. I don't want to have to even come close to like the last tile, and I've got to make it work. I don't want to even come close to that. So every cut I make, I need it to be just what I need. And that's of course the goal always when we're tiling, right? So to make sure that I can create as foolproof of a system as I can make, being me the fool and being the fact that I've got to prove it over myself, right? So I'm the fool. So here's what I have created. So first off, I went ahead and took one of the cardboard backers and I traced one of the tiles in the correct orientation. And then I know if I want to create a back tile finishing, so I know that I have to measure from here backwards, from the front of the tile back, to give me my finished piece. Then I went ahead and just did the measurements themselves and the number of cuts that I need for that. When I got out here, I assembled a makeshift table out of some half-inch plywood, a couple of 2x4s, some orientation of the tile, came out here with a box of tile, grabbed one, set it down, and then went ahead and traced it again on the table. Pantry side, I know that's the back of the shower. Under here it says outside wall. So I know exactly. Then I took that tile, laid it up here, and that's my reference tile. That is in the correct direction. I know where that's going. And these tile, they look like they will lock in 4 different ways, but they don't. There's one way they lock in. And then I laid down a framing square. So I had square as these tile can be. And then when I take the tile that I'm going to cut, I set it down. I know it's going to lock in. It's in the proper orientation. I can refer to that, where I'm measuring from. This is what I'm measuring, make the measurement, and then cut and end up with whatever. And I'm going to be labeling all of my fall off, so I know that these are all back of the tile. I know what that one is, obviously, but that's laid down in the correct orientation. Even when I lay my fall off down, I'm going to lay it in the proper orientation, so I don't have to guess as to how the fall off is going to fit in if I want to use it for a cut. That's what I'm doing. Again, I gotta fool myself, being the fool here. So that tile is finicky. There's only one way it goes as far as how it locks in, because the flowers are 9-sided, 9-petaled flowers, not 8, and so they're asymmetrical. And you really have to pay attention to exactly what's happening. I did get a couple flipped around, and it did become a slight problem, but fortunately I had extra tile. Once, then it's just a matter of cutting, so I'm not going back and forth, back and forth. If I make all the measurements first for a specific set of cuts and then make the cuts, I think there's a lot more chance for consistency because I'm doing things the same way. I'm not having to rethink the situation and kind of recreate it. Still using that glass cutting blade, and it's really doing well with this very soft marble. You can get crisp lines and even cut those little tiny edges off the petal and use them. Really, really cool stuff. Love it. These are some of the finish cuts, just kind of edging up to either the curb or a wall or something. All taking advantage of fall off. Making sure that the orientation and the order is correct, because those pieces start to all look the same. And I have no idea if I ever shot any footage about me actually installing the tile. But here we go with the finished installation without grout. It looked amazing without grout. Putting it in, it just looks so cool with the variation in color with the marble. Actually, this footage is also showing the other tile went in, the base run of the tile for the glass tile. Just checking out the tile all the way to the top. I didn't have to go all the way to the ceiling. I have a little edge there because of crown molding. Used a schluter on the edge as opposed to beveling grout. All of this is over a weedy shower system. Looking back around, you see the rest of the bathroom and of course the cutout for the toilet. The curb will get stone later. I think it's actually in the video at the very end. I had my doubts at first with this flower tile. Nice to hit the record button. Hey folks, Steve here. How you doing? Day something or other of the shower, and the walls are now done. You can see all of this. All the grout lines are done. It's been polished and everything else as far as I'm aware. And then we're working on the floor. So that's grouted in, and it's been just a little bit hit with a sponge. This is without a sponge. I just had some extra in the bucket I didn't want to waste. This stuff is like gold, and with all of our rosettes here, all of our daisies, that's a lot of pore space, and so this is really chewing up some grout. So very cool stuff, nice and dark. It's going to give an awesome contrast to that floor. Very cool. And I'm going to have to throw sponges away, and probably, I don't know if I'll get the bucket clean or not, but I have to be very careful about all that. Of course not spritzing, spraying or whatever, because that dark grout, if it gets on anything, oh my gosh, I'd hate to ruin the walls or something, so having to be really careful with that. Well, I'm on to cleaning that bucket and another round of grout. And I got to clean the buckets of water because I'm on bucket brigade now. So right now what the plan is, I'm going to get these 2 buckets cleaned out. And I will just be running water back and forth to my wife. She likes to sponge. She loves to do the grout line stuff. She wants to form it and everything else. So that's really, it's an amazing contribution on her part. So I'm just bucket guy now until we get the shower floor done. Once the shower floor is done, then I can start mixing up grout again. And we'll do the main floor in 2 parts so we can reach it to sponge. So it'll be a little bit of a night. It's 8 o'clock. No, it's 7:45. So I'm anticipating we'll finish about 10. Okay, I'll show you later on what we've got going on. Well, 10:20. I was close. So here's what we've got. So here is the tile. Yeah, the camera's not doing this justice. And what we have, got a little bit of a wide band right there. We didn't realize it until after everything was going, and for whatever reason, I just unlocked those tile. And everything else looks pretty good though, all the way down through. Very cool. And what we have still is, I believe there is going to be just right in front of this doorway, just one more quick wipe down after it sets up a little bit. And then after that, it will be going back in tomorrow and then just wiping off the film, doing a polish, and getting that ready to go. So, things are looking pretty good. Yeah, it came out amazing. I wish the camera did it better justice here. But just absolutely really beautiful contrast. Hey folks, Steve here. How you doing? Hey, I'm in this bathroom. What I'm doing right now is I'm putting baseboard in. And so I have baseboard. It's basically a nice chamfer on the edge at a 32, I think, degree angle there. Dives right into the schluter. This is, of course, behind the toilet. Down here, you'll notice I did not 45 the corner. This is because around the rest of the house, 1870, it wasn't overly fancy, and so I don't find on the rear outside corners that we have that there are actually 45 degrees. So I'm not worried about that. I have this device. This is not a sterret, but it is a miter gauge, and I am able to do this. I am reading, it's a miter cut. I use the inside scale, and so everything is tight there. You can see tight, tight, and then I look down, and by golly, it is, man, that's 90 to me. And so if I do a 45, it should match up there. This cool thing right here was pointed out to me by maybe the handyman and or Finished Carpentry TV, so thank you very much, either of you two. It may have even been Ron Polk, but I don't know it's Ron Polk actually. Right now I'm using it for this baseboard because I had that one outside 45, and I want to make sure that it's a nice joint, caulkable, certainly. All right. So I've used a combination of 2 nailers. One nailer is the 23 gauge headless pin nailer. Just brought in 3 sizes of extra pins, but I'm using the middle size, which is 1.25 inches. And what I did with that is I secured this one with those small pins. I have a 18 gauge brad nailer there and an 18 gauge brad nail there as well. I have 1 headless pin into the material in the 45, and then of course I have my miter clamps using that pair of pliers right there to open up the spring. And then this one is secured with 18 gauge, which is that nailer right there. I also, of course, glued the corner. I'll cope into that side, which is already right there. And then this side will receive a cope. And then this piece will actually return over. And wherever the door casing is in here, because obviously I'm missing my door, wherever the door casing is, then this will come over just 45 and go straight up the door trim, and it'll chase around the door trim, come back down, and then we'll hit this piece. So this is a chair rail that we had replicated. It was with the house, came from around 1920. We can't find this profile anywhere. And so we had the Amish hardwood guys actually have a guy that makes them knives. So he made the knives, made the profile, and we had 800 lineal feet of this ran off. So we've actually gone back through the rest of the house and completed what they started back in 1920. House was built in 1870, but we think it was trimmed out in 1920. This is just that end cap when you return the 45. Always like that. Seems like it's a very nice way to finish. Those miter clamps, Ron Paul turned me on to those.
Folks, Steve here. Hey folks, Steve here. How you doing? Good morning. Everyone's still asleep, I think, and so I'm getting ready for the day. I'm in this bathroom that we've been working on. Today is the crown for the bathroom. And so what I did was I have my measurements, drew a diagram, put the measurements down. Actually, I took the measurements up there, wrote them on the wall, transferred them to the diagram, and then I determined butt, cope, inside miter, and all of that. And I'll take you for a quick tour around the room here, just as far as decision points. That's obvious where we have an outside miter, but I want a butt joint there, and I want a butt end there and a butt end there, because the outside miter will work better that way. There is no need to cope that with a return, because if I have an outside miter and a cope, there's no tension there. There's no way to spring the cope in, and so the cope may not hold. So I want a butt and a butt there. All right, just moving around the room. So this piece here, I have to jog it around the tile, so the Schluter and the tile. So therefore, what I'm going to do is I have to cope this side, and I do actually get to butt into the Schluter, and so I can believe that I'm going to get a little bit of tension there, and so I have to cope that anyway. And then I get an inside miter here. That's going to jog out. So basically, I have a small 1/2-inch piece that's inside-outside miter that'll just jog that out. And then I get this piece running down through, which will be an outside miter to a butt joint. This right here has to be a double cope, because the same thing happens on this side. Butt, outside miter, the return outside or inside-outside miter for that 1/2-inch piece. And then from here, I get, inside 45, inside miter, butt. And then here to here becomes a double cope. So this room has 2 double copes. Okay, all right, it is what it is. They're not hard, you just a little more attention to detail. And once in a great while, I'm cutting one of them twice because it's too short or something like that. Or it's too long and I get to trim it and modify it. That doesn't happen as often. So that's what I've got. I do have my measurements. And that everything I just described is written on here, left and right, exactly what's going on. You can see butt, outside miter, butt, and it just traces down through. It starts with the smallest piece simply because that's where it was, and it goes clockwise as I'm in the room. When I get out of the saw, I have to set the saw up again for crown, because last night I was doing other things besides crown, so I took the crown stuff off and just had an open saw, but now I got to go back and do that. So crown first. And that'll take me a good portion of time to get all that done, because I have all my measurements when I get to the saw. I'm at the saw until I'm done with all of these cuts, and then I bring them in, start fitting them. I anticipate a few trips back to the saw. I'd love to think that I'm perfect here, but once in a while things are a little bit too long or something like that. After that, then I'm attending to the plumbing in here. I want to get my capped pipes out, and I want to get my valves in. And for that, I bought like 3 or 4 inch nipples. I can't find them in black. We're doing black hardware in here, and so I'm going to need to actually paint them black. And so I got to get that process going, so I get a couple of coats on there, and then later on today, I can get them in, and then, if as necessary, touch them up before I get the valves on. One thing I'm starting off with, these small triangular pieces of wood, if you will. And like for instance, this one right here, C means ceiling, so that'll go up to the ceiling, so it'll sit in there like this, and you can see where the crown would ride. And basically, here's my diagram: ceiling, wall, and this right here, the lighter is the diagram of the crown that I have. So basically, this goes into the corner of the ceiling like so, and then allows the ability, once you get your crown seated along its spring angle, then you just have a little bit more of an ability to secure the crown if you don't have anything to really shoot up into or out into. And so, and this one, you do have a better ability to hit like a top plate or something like that. And you can be a little less finicky with the nailing. So I've prepared those. I'm going to go up and install those right now because I also want to back them with like a Loctite product, like an adhesive caulk. That way I just have extra stability for the crown over the long term. So I'm using a product, Loctite Power Grab Heavy Duty. And what I'm doing is I am backing the piece on the ceiling side and the wall side, and then I'm sticking it up there so that actually adhered. I will go back through in a moment with nails. I'm just trying to get this stuck up, and apparently it's sticking. So that's what I'm doing. So as I shoot these, I'm using my cordless 16 gauge with 2.5 inch or 3 inch nails, whatever the maximum size is for that. And I have 3 of the 4 pieces in. You can see up there a couple of nails there. I had to be careful here in the fact that this is actually a chimney while I have shimmed it. Also, here I shot into the top plate of this return wall. Over there, I have to be a little bit more careful because I have tile, and I have to miss the tile. Otherwise, I hit the tile with a nail, I'm going to crack the tile, and it's not going to turn out well. That Power Grab actually it was a product recommended by the handyman, and I've used it a lot of times and really appreciate that product a lot. So thank you very much, handyman. On light materials, this Loctite Power Grab, I'm loving it. I mean, it sticks right there. Gap here, and I have a gap over here. The reason for that is I have a piece of crown that is returning in to each corner, and I don't want my nailer to be in the way of that actual crown returning in as a butt end, because this is the double coat. So if you're using these nailers, I have made the mistake in the past. I cut the nailer too long, and then my pieces, when they're trying to return in, are hitting the nailer. And then you got to modify the nailer in place, or you got to take the nailer down, but chances are it's either glued in or nailed in or both. So, you cascade your problems at that point. Just create a process where no process needed to be created. Setting up again today here at the saw. I have my crown stop, which will allow me simply to set my crown in at the appropriate spring angle. Upside down and backwards, of course. Here is my spacer that I made yesterday. As I put it in, it is not tight, but it is snug. And I'm all set up and ready to go to cut. In this setup, because crown is going to be cut upside down and backwards, the right and left are actually backwards, just to keep myself aware without having to think too much that whenever I'm cutting something on this side of crown, it is the left side of the crown. If I'm cutting anything on this side of the piece, it is the right side of the piece, which will then correspond with all of my cuts, left and right respectively. The coping station from yesterday is all set up still, and so that's just where I do all my copes. And this jig right here actually simply supports the piece in its orientation for installation, so you can actually cope it easily and know that you've removed all that material. That whole crown molding, cutting process setup I got from Ron Polk. He has a 6-video series about mastering crown or something like that. And I pulled a lot. I'd done a lot of crown before that, but he really gave me a process that refined everything that I did, gave it a sensible order. I really recommend that playlist. Really good stuff. Thank you very much, Ron Polk. I appreciate that. You upped my game, my friend. You upped my game. All right. So this tool right here, basically the idea is that when you put your crown up, that you're going to ride this along the wall. That needs to touch the ceiling. The crown embeds in between, and what it does is it lines up and gives you the proper spring angle, so you know that you're not too high on the ceiling, you're not too high on the wall, you're not cocked at an angle that will prevent you from realizing your copes, your outside 45s, your interior copes, your
interesting jogs around tile and Schluter and all of that. Tool right there, basically, whenever I can, if I have enough hands, push that up, hold it in place, and then I can do those 2 nails, for instance. Move down, hold it up in place, get those 2 nails, and so forth. Gary Katz, but introduced to me by Ron Polk as far as a crown installation tool. This is the 3rd one that I've made for 3 different kinds of crowns. I've used the other 2 multiple times because I've installed similar crown that had the same spring angle. And because it had the same spring angle, that crown installer would work. Really nice to know that you're not too high, too low, that you have it at the wrong angle, which is very easy to do with crown because of deficiencies in the wall, and you're trying to accommodate that and make it look better. But by making it look better, you're actually throwing everything else of your crown installation off because it's at the wrong angle, and now your copes don't work, your miters don't work. So this way, there we go. More of it works more of the time because the crown is installing correctly regardless of what's happening to the walls. That's what caulk is for. That's what paint is for. You can see that the stone is in around the window now. So we have stone jambs. That was all sealed in, so that's completely watertight, and it's a vinyl window. And then I've already installed the stone on the curb, and that is being held down there, weighted down, while the adhesive sets. There you go. Thank you very much for sticking with me, folks. If you would like and subscribe, I appreciate everything that you are doing to support me. Thank you, and have a great day, because you deserve it. Thank you, Spence. I do appreciate that, because I do want you to like and subscribe. I would like and subscribe if I could. I like my channel. And it's really pleasing to see that everything's coming together on this project. Obviously, the project's already done. It's 100% done. That got 80%, I think, right there. One more video to kind of wrap it all up, and then I'll give you the final tour. And it's worth seeing. My wife did a great job of design. I'm just the installer. And so I make no bones about it. I just install. She makes it look absolutely like $1,000,000. So I get it to, hey, that looks like $100 and change. You're right. And then she adds a whole bunch of zeros when she comes in and does her thing with caulk, with filling the nail holes, with painting, with everything else. She makes it the $1,000,000 bathroom. Hey, y'all take care if you would. If you have not already, like and subscribe. And if you've stuck with me this far, man, I should show up at your house and cook you dinner because you absolutely deserve that. Hey, you all take care. Have a good one. I know you deserve it regardless of anything else. And I look forward to seeing you in the last video of this series, and then we'll move on to the kitchen upstairs. And I'm excited about that. I don't know how much video I have, but I'm excited to show you what we have going on upstairs because it's all done, and it's been a hell of a ride to get there. Y'all take care. Bye.